And there it is. You're looking at the American-made rocket and spacecraft that will return American astronauts to the International Space Station from American soil for the first time since the retirement of the Space Shuttle, last flown nearly 9 years ago. Today, with our partners at SpaceX, we mark a new first in NASA's storied history and usher in the commercial crew era of American spaceflight.
At 4:33 Eastern Time this afternoon, two of NASA's finest, astronauts Doug Hurley and Bob Behnken, will lift off from Pad 39A aboard SpaceX's Crew Dragon spacecraft atop a Falcon 9 rocket. This will mark SpaceX's first flight with crew and the beginning of a new chapter in human spaceflight.
Good afternoon and welcome to Kennedy Space Center. I'm Marie Lewis of NASA.
And I'm Lauren Lyons, an engineer at SpaceX. And today we have special guest, retired astronaut Leland Melvin, who is here to provide a truly unique perspective on today's events.
Marie and Lauren, thanks for having me here. And I am so excited. I've got rocket fuel going through my veins. And you guys, I was out there 11 years ago on Pad 39A on STS-129. And this is really hallowed ground that we have here. And you think about the storied legacy of Mercury, Gemini, Apollo, Shuttle, and now this new era, SpaceX Crew Dragon. It's an exciting time.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome, and we're so excited to have you here to go through it with us. We want to talk first, though, about the weather, because that's the big story of the day right now, the headline. And teams from NASA and SpaceX are keeping an eye on the weather here at NASA's Kennedy Space Center in Florida. Meteorologists from the U.S. Air Force 45th Weather Squadron are predicting a 50-50 probability for launch, so keeping things exciting. A rain shower passed through the area just a moment before the start of our coverage, which delayed us by just a few minutes, and which is why we are indoors now. That weather is expected to pass, but teams will continue to monitor our flight rules, including flight through precipitation, as well as anvil and cumulus clouds around the launch pad. Teams look at more than just the weather around Kennedy, but also weather and sea states in the flight path of Crew Dragon. That's really important. All of those need to be favorable before launch. Now, Tropical Storm Bertha has been causing some weather that teams will continue to monitor to make sure it's okay for rescue operations, just in case that's needed. And the team will convene shortly to review the latest weather and wind trends around the flight path of the rocket and make a decision about proceeding. Now, if all is go, we will be tracking a 4:33 p.m. Eastern launch for the return of human spaceflight to the International Space Station from U.S. soil. And the team also will take another look at weather prior to propellant loading, which is scheduled to happen about 45 minutes prior to launch if we do, in fact, proceed. And we have teams all over the country covering the action, from SpaceX headquarters in California, Mission Control in Houston, our social media desk in Washington, and of course, right here in Florida.
Today's mission marks Crew Dragon's second test flight and its first test with humans on board. We're about, 4 hours and 9 minutes away from liftoff, and Bob and Doug finished their lunch just recently, and now they're going through their final medical checks before NASA turns them over to the SpaceX team. Once the crew is handed over, there are a series of key milestones that the teams will need to complete as we count down to T0. The first one is suit up. The suit-up room is located in NASA's Operations and Checkout Building, or the ONC building, as we'll sometimes refer to it today. This is where the SpaceX team will help astronauts put on their suits in preparation for their journey to the launch pad. From there, next up is what we call crew walkout. Once suit-up is complete, the astronauts will leave the ONC for final goodbyes with friends and family that are gathered outside of the facility before they head out to Pad 39A.
And following final goodbyes, the crew will get in their Tesla and begin the roughly 20-minute drive to Pad 39A. Now, once at the pad, the crew will ascend the fixed service structure in order to board the spacecraft in a process we call ingress. During ingress, the SpaceX team will run a series of checks to ensure the suits, seats, and vehicle interactions all are functioning properly.
And after all vehicle and crew checkouts are completed, the SpaceX closeout team will close Dragon's hatch with Bob and Doug safely inside. About 40 minutes before launch, the crew access arm, which is the long walkway that the astronauts use to board Dragon, it'll retract away, followed shortly thereafter by arming of the launch escape system.
Once the arm is retracted and the escape system armed, propellant loading on Falcon 9 will begin. About 5 minutes before liftoff, Dragon will be configured for what we call terminal count. This is where Dragon's onboard computers take control of the vehicle.
And at T0, just under 4 hours from now, we expect to see Crew Dragon atop Falcon 9 lift off from Pad 39A, carrying astronauts Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley. Roughly 12 minutes after liftoff, Dragon will separate from the Falcon 9 second stage, with Dragon officially taking over full responsibility for the remainder of the journey to the space station. And as I mentioned previously, Bob and Doug are just finishing up their launch, and we are currently awaiting their arrival to the suit-up room.
And while we await that moment, you will notice over the course of this broadcast, we do not have crowds gathered here at Kennedy Space Center. And that, of course, is one of the protocols we've taken to protect each other and our teams. We would normally have tens of thousands of guests here at Kennedy Space Center to view the launch. But even though we couldn't host a lot of people here, you can still join us every historic mission from right where you are. And we have a team dedicated to those of you following along on social media. That's NASA's Tahira Allen, and she is in Washington right now leading that effort. Tahira?
Thanks, Marie. And hey, everyone, I'm Tahira Allen, here to bring you all the excitement happening across the nation today. This is a big day for both NASA and SpaceX, and we want to share it with you. You can join the conversation online by using the hashtag LaunchAmerica on NASA's Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Instagram. We'll be monitoring that hashtag, LaunchAmerica, don't forget, all day to share some of your questions, comments, and photos live on air. There will also be multiple opportunities for you to engage in a few social media polls during today's live broadcast, so head on over to NASA's Twitter to cast your votes. While you're counting down to liftoff, be sure to check out our custom Launch America Facebook and Instagram augmented reality filters. I promise you will not be disappointed. They transport you right to our launch viewing site at Kennedy Space Center, where you can literally see the Falcon 9 rocket lift off in a pair of sunglasses. If you're looking for some behind-the-scenes action, I highly recommend check out NASA's Facebook page to join the first ever global NASA social. So in this group, you'll find tours of Kennedy Space Center. You'll get this awesome Launch America badge. We even have some social team members in there making custom badges where you can add your face in it, a little personalized touch. And you'll also just find a really great community of others pumped to witness this historic launch. So like I said, head on over to NASA's Facebook page to join this group. So to get everyone started today, we have a question for you out on Twitter. We'd like to know which of you watched the final space shuttle launch in 2011. So like I said, head on over to NASA's Twitter to cast your vote, because we'll be sharing the results live on air. And with that, let's head back to Lauren at NASA Kennedy. Lauren.
Thanks, Tahira. Wherever you are in the world, we are super excited to have you joining us today and experiencing these historic moments. The purpose of today's demonstration mission is to put Crew Dragon through the final operational paces that are necessary to officially certify the vehicle for human spaceflight. Both the SpaceX and NASA teams have put years of development, testing, and training into this effort, and we are now just hours away from seeing Falcon 9, Crew Dragon, and Bob and Doug lift off for the first time from the same launch pad that first sent humans to the moon more than 50 years ago.
And we're just about 3 miles from Launch Complex 39A, where liftoff will happen in a little over 4 hours. Let's check in with the team at SpaceX Hawthorne, where NASA's Dan Hewitt and SpaceX's Jesse Anderson are keeping an ear on operations. Hi, guys.
Thanks, Marie, and hello from SpaceX headquarters in Hawthorne, California.